afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope everyone enjoyed their lunch. And those of you that weren't here earlier this morning, you missed some good discussion about the crossroads where mental health intersects with our criminal justice system. I'm Mary Lou Burnsick, the director of David's Hope, and we are here for our 2019 Step Up Arizona Award Ceremony and presentations. We're honored to have a very special guest, President of the Arizona Sheriff's Association, Jim Driscoll, here today to share with us today, and he'll also be on stage helping to congratulate our award winners this year. I want to, again, bring attention to the fact that not just this event, but our work year-round is made possible by the support of you, many dear sponsors that have stayed with us now for several years and continue to be keep the gasoline in the engine. So I'm going to mention again our platinum sponsor, Maricopa Integrated Health System, soon to become Valley Wise, and our gold sponsor, Arizona Complete Health. Tremendous long-standing support. And our silver sponsors, Care First and Mercy Care. Bronze sponsors, Banner University Health Plan, Community Bridges Incorporated, Connections Health Solutions, District Medical Group, Janssen, Neuroscience, Optum, and Taros Health. So let's give them a hand to let them know we appreciate them. We are going to be recognizing award winners and honorees in 3 different categories. The first will be law enforcement, the second is judicial officers, and the third will be community members. All equally important, and for a number of years we only recognized law enforcement, and truthfully, it was okay. It's important, and it's so rewarding being able to let you all know how grateful we are for the work you do throughout the year to keep our community safe. Then it came to the point where we were hearing that, law enforcement can't do it all. There are other parts of the system that have to work as well. And judicial officers and community members, we started awarding a couple years back. And I continue to feel very grateful that we have no trouble finding worthy honorees. The stories that you'll be hearing sometimes might seem a little detailed, but that's what lets you know how lives are impacted by the tremendous times when law enforcement, officers of the court, and community members have been able to intervene for a purpose of decriminalizing mental illness. I want to thank our David's Hope board, and a special thank you to all of our David's Hope board, who's just tremendous and really are holding us together. We're a group of volunteers, and we're very grateful to Access and the OIFA office who and NAMI Arizona, who have supported us through making the Mental Health Criminal Justice Coalition one of the OIFA initiatives. That is a big deal. Sometimes we're criticized because we're connected to evil access or connected to anything that's government, right? But as we talked about earlier, our Supreme Court I mean, it's been 10 years of sequential intercept, well, more than that of sequential intercept being around. I mean, truly, we're in the next decade. And for our state government, our access leaders, and the Office of Individual Family Affairs, we're truly grateful, and for the support of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, who will be awarding here tonight, Jim Dunn. The collaboration that really we'll talk more about when we award Jim, but that spirit of collaboration, which he emanates, is what's rubbed off on us. And we've learned so much of what we do from his example. So I just want to make sure that you have time to really think how wonderful it is that so much good is going on around our state, that tremendous acts take place every day that change people's lives. And we're going to be recognizing tonight some of the heroes in our state that have made that happen. I congratulate all of you former award winners that are here. I know there are a lot of you here. And I'd like to have all the law enforcement officers in the room stand. If you would do that, we'd like to recognize you. So, you know, it's wonderful when we see the results, the change that's happening. I wanted to jump up earlier during the panel for those of you that were here, and it kind of sounded like we were blaming the police for a lot of things again. And I wanted to say, well, let's talk more about the courts, because the officers are making spur-of-the-moment, split-second decisions to save people's lives and keep people safe. When we get to the courts, things have slowed down a bit. There's time. So that's why our work of our judicial officers and our community members doing advocacy is so important. Complicated, yes, but I think the most challenging thing about it is really realizing how simple common sense solutions are. And if you ever meet a really brilliant person, they're usually very simple. I mean, I learned that. And that was, I think, part of our, like Joel said earlier, it's not rocket science. And we haven't heard that for a while, but I know the Stepping Up initiative, which most of you are all familiar with, a national initiative to reduce the numbers of people with mental illness in jail, was architected by Judge Stephen Leifman out of Miami-Dade County in Florida. And that's one of his favorite sayings, is that this is not rocket science. And I think it's interesting that, and we talked about there weren't prosecutors here, but we do have a prosecutor from the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. Gina Godby here is here, sitting right there. So we do not want to give prosecutors a bad rap. And as I'd said last year, due to the amazing work of the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office, and Chief Rhodes, I know you're here, thank you for being here in your group, we were able to award Sheila Polk last year. So that is due to the common sense brilliance of the Sheriff's Department that laid out the facts that the prosecutors could see that what was happening didn't make sense and didn't keep Yavapai County any safer. So that kind of work that's being done every day just is what's changing our state. And it's got the fire under a lot of us, so we want to continue to recognize that type of collaboration. That's really collaboration is what it is. There didn't need to be a study. I know we have to keep data, I know we have to have records, but we can act before we have some of the analysis and the data back to work on, right? So that's, I think, all I needed to say about that. I'm going to introduce the Vice President of Behavioral Health of Maricopa Integrated Health Services, Jean Cavella, to come and share. If you'd like to come up, we're thrilled, and we thank you again for your support from Maricopa Integrated Health System and continued support. It's not new. You've been doing it for a while, so thank you, and I'll turn this over to you.
Well, thank you, Mary Lou. It's an honor to be here. I've had the privilege, probably, how many years, Sherry? 3 or 4 years of coming to this event. And like Mary Lou, I think my favorite part has always been the Law Enforcement Awards. So I'm not going to make this a shameless sponsorship message, although as the Platinum sponsor, we do have that privilege of talking about ourselves. But I really want to get to those Law Enforcement Awards because that really, as she said, is what it's all about. I believe, as a Phoenix native and spent soon to be 33 years of behavioral health work in Arizona, I'm proud that I think here in Arizona we've done a much better job than much of the rest of the country of having our law enforcement officials working with mental health and with the court system to provide better outcomes and safer outcomes. I know that no police officer, no sheriff's officer wants to have a bad outcome with someone that they're called on, and those are the great stories I remember last year and the year before. So we're going to get to those. But I did want to take this opportunity. If you have these sheets and it says Platinum, MIHS, you might want to keep those because October 1st, we will be now called Valley Wise Health. And if our CEO, Steve Purvis, was here, he'd say, I want to do a straw poll. He says he's from the South, he's from Virginia, which I guess as a Phoenix person, I never knew Virginia was the South, but I guess it is. So he says, straw poll, how many people have heard of Desert Vista Hospital in this room? Probably most everybody, right? How many people know about the Arizona Burn Center? Probably most everybody. But how many people know that Desert Vista Hospital, the Arizona Burn Center, our 11 family health centers, the trauma center at 24th Street and Roosevelt are all the same organization? Not too many. In fact, we were just talking at our table and folks didn't know what MIHS even was, so maybe retiring that name isn't such a bad thing because thanks to the voters of Maricopa County in 2014, a bond passed that gave $935 million to our organization to build ourselves up for the future. So we have acquired 8 properties. If anybody lives in the Northwest Valley, you've probably driven by the one on Grand and Peoria and 83rd that's going up. It's going to be a medical specialty clinic. We purchased the Maryvale Hospital that Abrazo closed in December of 17, and it's now open for emergency department as well as 48 behavioral health beds. Next week, we expect to get the rest of the 144 beds licensed, so a total of 192 behavioral health beds. Our district board is going to vote later this month to approve funding to put the courtroom in the Maryvale Hospital. So we are really positioned now to be doing court-ordered mental health evaluations at Mesa, at our Central Phoenix location, and at Maryvale. You notice I didn't say at Desert Vista Annex and Maryvale. So one of the hardest things, I think, for me and for all of you is as this name change happens, we are going to retire some names. Maricopa Medical Center will now be known as Valley-Wise Health Medical Center. Desert Vista Hospital is going to be known as Valley-Wise Behavioral Health Center Mesa. The annex, the behavioral health annex of Maricopa Medical Center will now be known as the Valley-Wise Behavioral Health Center Phoenix, and our Maryvale site, the Valley-Wise Behavioral Health Center Maryvale. Thanks to the voters that approved moving the hospital system from county to its own district in '03, the voters that approved, many of you in this room, I'm sure, voted yes to Prop 480 in '14 to give this bond money. We will be able to take an organization that was probably on the verge of just being closed down 20 years ago to being a premier public hospital system. Not many of you may know that we are affiliated along with Dignity Health, or they have a new name coming too, I think, Common Spirit, is that what I understand? And Creighton University, which are Creighton's building a new medical college at Central and Thomas, where the Park Central property is. Our residency programs, we are a long-standing teaching hospital, will now be Creighton University Phoenix medical residency programs. So we're very excited about the future. Behavioral health is a big part of why Prop 480 passed. We've now, with the Maryvale opening, we're going to have 433 inpatient behavioral health beds, the largest of any system. We've got outpatient behavioral health programs. And so a big part of what MIHS, now Valley-Wise Health, is working together with all of you to make sure that people with mental illness get the physical and behavioral health care they need in order to live successful lives and stay out of the correctional system. I think that's all I really wanted to say, so thank you for hearing me, and keep your keepsake of MIHS.
Fantastic. So there we are building beds for treatment, not jail beds. And I know no one wants any more prison beds. We've got too many already. So thank you. Fantastic. And I'm going to introduce my son, David. David Burnsick is a regular here at these meetings. He's my son who has led a life of exemplary commitment to seeing people with mental illness receive treatment. And I'm honored to have you here, David, to share. Do you want to use it? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to turn, Dave kind of does a greeting and might be / prayer, I'm not sure.
Hello, everybody. I hope peace and joy to you. I just came up here and say thank you all so much for coming here, and I just wrote a couple words from my heart that I usually share at these meetings. My mom gives me grace to share. She works so hard. Okay. Just wrote a couple words from my heart. It says, "Hi, I'm David. I just wanted to share a couple words from the heart. Thank you so much for being here and fighting against the problem of mental illness and criminal justice colliding. I just want to say congratulations to all the award winners, and thank you all here for being real-life heroes, and that you have a compassionate heart towards those who suffer with mental illness. Most of all, I want to say thank you to God and the Lord Christ Jesus, who has walked by my side through the mountaintops and the valleys of my life. Without his grace and the miracle of his love and a lot of help from the Holy Spirit, I would have no way been able to make it this far in life. In spite of that, I have had a lifelong battle with mental illness that has been really hard to cope and deal with. I still have faith in God and believe that there is hope for people like me because of his love and because of the mercy and compassion of people like my mother and everyone here, in the hearts of people just like all who are gathered here today. I am so grateful to my mother and family for being merciful and understanding during the times of my life that were the darkest and most difficult. I cannot tell you how grateful I am for the many times that officers and mental health crisis teams and mental health professionals have kept me safe and out of trouble in times of desperation and unimaginable mental struggles. The good news is that there really is hope. As it may be a war in the lives of those who suffer, there's incredible hope because of the healing power found in Christ Jesus and the hearts of compassionate people like everyone here. And so, Lord, where do I put my hope? My only hope is in you. So I will praise him on the mountain, and I will praise him when the mountain's in my way. He's the summit where my feet are. I will praise him in the valley all the same. He's the heaven where my heart is. He sweeps the sinners past. I am so thankful for the restoration I have seen in my life because of God's grace and David's hope, as well as all who are gathered here today. Is total recovery possible? I don't know, but I still believe in miracles because as I look out to all here in this crowd with my heart realizes that each and every one of you, including myself, is exactly that, the miracle of God that I needed in my life. For that, all I can say is thank you and God bless America. Thank you so much for not only listening with your ears, but opening your hearts to love and mercy. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Thank you, David. David has been an inspiration to me and to all that know him. So thank you for continuing to share your life with us. All right, we are ready to, I'm going to introduce Sheriff Jim Driscoll, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about Sheriff Driscoll. He took office in Coconino County in January 2017. He's honored to have served Coconino County for 45 years and has worked in areas of patrol, detention, investigations, and emergency management. He's instructed locally, statewide, and internationally on topics such as emergency management, incident command, community preparedness, search and rescue. And the search and rescue is challenging in Coconino County. I love when he tells the stories up in the mountains. Mental health awareness, violence in the workplace, situational awareness, and critical incident response. There's much more, but I'm just going to give you the brief version. Jim has a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice from Northern Arizona University. He's a graduate of FBI National Academy and International Association of Chiefs of Police Leadership and Police Organization, an Executive Leaders Program at the Center for Homeland Defense and Security. And beyond that, Sheriff Jim Driscoll has been an outstanding example of a sheriff who wants to promote the decriminalization of mental illness and improved collaboration between those two systems. So thank you, Sheriff Driscoll, for being here.
Well, good afternoon. You know, when you've been around 45 years, you're bound to get something right. And what she talked about is, 45 years of service working in one county. You get to experience a lot of different things. So, again, I've been very fortunate throughout my career. You know, it's certainly an honor to be here representing the Arizona Sheriffs. The Arizona Sheriffs are committed to supporting and advocating for David's Hope and Step Up Arizona initiative. We've been involved for a number of years, and I think all of you know one of the largest jobs or greatest jobs that all 15 of us sheriffs have is managing our jails. And they're also the greatest source of litigation that the sheriffs face throughout Arizona. There's a lot of people who go through our facilities, tens of thousands every year. And that creates many opportunities, but it also creates many problems. And I'll share a few of those with you in a few minutes. This morning, I was absolutely inspired by the two panels. I've been coming here for several years to this event, but to listen to those 7 people this morning, I just come away going, we have accomplished so much, and we have so much more to accomplish in the future. We need to create those opportunities, and I'll try to talk about those in a few minutes. You know, listening to Joel this morning, he talked about the closure of mental health institutions, and all of you have heard about that, where they were closed back in the 60s and 70s. And those issues and problems associated with dealing with the mental health community were passed on to local government, and in many cases passed on to families to deal with, that were ill-equipped to manage or deal with those problems as well. He also mentioned the criminalization of mental health. And I think if we start looking at the populations within our jail, I think we've probably criminalized being poor as well. Because if you look at those populations, most of them are poor or have absolutely no means of support, and they sit in jail because there is nowhere else for them to go. But to begin this afternoon, I want to talk about kind of a downside of many of the things we're involved in, and those are suicides. In my county, as well as throughout Arizona, as well as throughout the United States, suicide is on the uptick. It doesn't make the media, it doesn't make the front page, second page. In many cases, it never makes print media or local media unless it's a high-profile person, like we saw recently with Mr. Epstein. But it is epidemic proportions in some areas of our country. Just since 2010, my department, rather small, I only have about 280 people total, but in my department, we would get 1 or 2 suicide threats a week. Now we're doing up to 6 per shift in our community. And I constantly am asked, what's the cause? I think all of you know there's probably a lot of causes or reasons for this, whether it's foundational with the families or lack of families, whether it's spiritual, whether it's just people in crisis all the time. But we're seeing an exponential increase in the amount of suicide threat or suicide threat related calls that we're responding to. In talking to my fellow sheriffs, Sheriff Lamb and I talked a little while ago, he's seeing the same thing. We're responding to more of these than we've ever had before. I'm sure it's the same for our local police departments here in the room today. Most of the people that we're seeing involved in this are age 15 to 24, but that's certainly not all. We have 5 Native American reservations within my county, and I think most of you know it's a pretty large county. We also have the Navajo tribe, largest Native American tribe in the United States, well over 340,000 people within that tribe. And they are at epidemic levels of suicide. They have anti-suicide campaigns throughout the Navajo Nation. And it's still on the increase. Nobody is able to get a real handle on what's causing this issue or how to combat this problem. Last night, about midnight, I got a call from my chief deputy saying we just had a 17-year-old high school kid hang himself south of Flagstaff. This is becoming kind of a weekly thing where we get some young person in crisis and the first thing they resort to is a suicide or an attempted suicide. The ripple effects, and you know this probably much better than I do, but the ripple effects of a youth suicide really affect all kinds of areas within the community. The need to bring in school counselors, the need to bring in friends and have them go through psych debriefings. It's so important because sometimes one youth suicide becomes 2 or 3 unless there's some kind of intervention that occurs. Then there's the impact on the first responders, and I would like to acknowledge, we talk about the law enforcement, but I also like to acknowledge you people from the fire and EMS that are there with us when we respond to these events. I know there's a number of people I've had a chance to talk from the fire community. First responders are also at risk for some of these effects of suicides. A couple of stories I will share with you. I had an officer last year who went through the academy, and he was a whiz-bang kid. He came through and he was number 1 academically. He was number 2 with firearms. He was number 2 in physical fitness. And this young man came out of that academy on fire. He was just kind of ready to hit the road and to save the world. Great kid, positive attitude. Then he started his FTO program, Field Training Officer program. 8 days later, he responds to a call with his trainer, and here was a man that had been beaten almost to death, laying in the middle of the road. And he was beat up severely. And my new officer had to give CPR, and the man died as he was given CPR. 2 days later, my brand new great officer walks in and resigns. Those things happen. Maybe he wasn't cut out for this business. I don't know all the reasons, but it affected him so dramatically that he lost his career over it. You from fire, you from EMS, you also have to deal with these things. You see them just as often as we do. And how much of that cumulative effect before this impacts you or your family, or you dread going on that bad traffic accident call or the attempted suicide call. Suicide by cop has also become, I think, much more prevalent, and it's very hard to call it that without having a suicide note, but we're seeing more of that as well. A while back, my officers had 87 contacts with an individual over 2 years. 87 police contacts. 4 times we talked him down. He was threatening suicide. He was walking around with a gun threatening suicide. The 5th time we respond, in the middle of the night, he's walking outside of his home in circles, firing a gun in the air. And we talked to him for a half hour, and finally he leveled the gun, a rifle, at our officers, and they shot and killed him. So we succeeded 4 times and we failed the 5th? I don't know. I don't know how my officers deal with that. We certainly bring them in, debrief. We bring in CISM. But down the road, after a few more suicides, what kind of impacts do they have? I want to talk very briefly about homicides. What about the active shooters now that we are training for? We're training collaboratively with fire and EMS to jump into these active shooter situations together, to go in and eliminate the shooter as well as tend to the injured while we're in process. Not waiting, because the past training was go in at all costs and eliminate the shooter. Well, now we're taking fire and EMS with us into these situations so they can tend to the injured while the shooter is still eliminated. Those could potentially will have training impacts on all of us in the future. What about the school shooting situation? Every time we have one, the sense of urgency, the sense of fear throughout our country comes up. What kind of impacts is that having on our kids as they as their parents buy them bulletproof backpacks, as their parents try to prepare them for the what if? What are we doing to our future generations? Are we scaring them to death? Are we preparing them? I don't know. Maybe somebody from the psychological side can offer more. But again, what are going to be the impacts to all of us in the future with that? As we get closer to the next legislative session here in Phoenix, the red flag law is going to come up. It was proposed last year, and it failed in our legislature. But the whole idea of red flag laws is going to be put out there again. How do we respond? How does the mental health community, the law enforcement community, the educational community respond with red flag laws? And whether you support them or oppose them, something will probably end up being passed that's going to cause impacts. There may be just as many benefits, but there's certainly going to be some issues as a result of any legislation that passes that we will all end up having to deal with in some way, shape, or form. The last area I'll talk about is our jails. And obviously, from this morning, you heard a lot of things. Judge Gould, I could listen to him all day. He brings such a great perspective to everything. About 40% of people in our jails are SMI. Why is that? You heard why. We've criminalized mental health. You know, many of us have current programs that we utilize. And to expedite people suffering mental illness through our programs. But we get those programs, do they just get them out of jail and then what? You heard Joel talk about this earlier, about housing. You can't just have someone go through the process, get adjudicated and kicked out the door, or charges dismissed, or whatever, and kicked out the door and expected to be successful. They need somewhere to go. All of us know, we talk about domestic violence within our communities. We talk about people associated with substance abuse. Once they get out of jail, if they go right back to that same environment, to that same family, to that same street corner, don't expect their behavior to change any. We need that, what's called in my county is that warm handoff. The handoff from jail to some housing, some service in the community that's going to help them be successful and keep them from reverting back to those behaviors that originally put them in jail. Without that, we're just spinning our wheels and kicking that can down the road. So those are absolutely vital that we don't, I agree with what was said this morning by Joel, that we don't reinstitute mental health institutions, but we have to have some interim level of care and housing in order for those people to have a decent chance at success. What about co-occurring disorders evident in most of our people that was experiencing these problems? What is the prevailing attitude? Because I can tell you in my county, and I think as in many others, in the past, our job, or we viewed our job as get the person off the street. Get the person off the street and into jail. That way the community is safe. That way the person is safe. And so once that person is safe, the community is safe, the sense of urgency to deal with that person really goes down the drain. There's no hurry to get services. There's no hurry to expedite this person through the criminal justice system. Everything's okay for now. So let's slow down and see what we can do. Is this occurring in many communities still? Probably so, dependent upon how many resources you have available. Special needs population, looking primarily at the elderly. As I knock on that elderly door myself, I'm wondering what's going to happen as many of us baby boomers move on up, get older, and if dementia or related diseases, how are we going to be treated? What kinds of systems, what kind of opportunities are in place as more and more of us potentially develop mental health problems related to that? Do we end up in jail? You heard it this morning, I believe, from Joel, that a family asks for help because their father is showing signs of dementia and he's becoming difficult at home. So they call law enforcement or they call first responders for help, and we end up putting him in jail, not fixing the problem and losing the trust of the very people that we're trying to serve. You know, I preach in my department. I try not to preach a lot, but I do preach public trust. If our public cannot trust us, we can't do our job. If they can't trust us to come and do the appropriate thing, we have to have more than one tool in our toolbox. We just can't use the tool of arrest to solve problems. We have to educate our people. We had to educate our staff. Bernardo talked earlier about this very kind of issue. Why would we want to only use arrest as an alternative? We need to be seeking other alternatives. We need to be searching out for opportunities to deal with these issues instead of a one-size-fits-all. You heard Don Jacobson this morning talk about tailoring the response to the person, because one size in the mental health courts doesn't fit all. Different people with different issues need different services, need different treatments. And as first responders, we need to be able to recognize differences. We need to be able to look at a situation and not just decide its outcome, but seek the appropriate level of services in order to be successful. Opportunities are out there. You heard about post-arrest diversion programs, and even this morning, pre-arrest diversion programs. You know, this is somewhat dangerous ground, I think, if you're a prosecutor, and I hope I don't offend our prosecutor, but a pre-arrest diversion program for somebody doing something, that's a little bit scary. But look at the situation you heard this morning on the guy who steals the sandwich. And I use the same analogy, only we call it the guy that steals a candy bar from Circle K. And he steals a candy bar once and maybe gets away with it, and the next day he steals a candy bar again, ends up being arrested, and sits in jail for 3 months because he stole a candy bar and he has no money to bond out. So a $1.50 candy bar ends up costing my jail $102 a day to keep him in jail. I don't think that's justice. I don't think that's good for the system, and it's certainly not good for that individual. We know people in jail decompensate mentally. So are we turning them out worse off than when we got them? We always need to pay attention to that. Is this person worse off? We know health-wise that when people are booked into jail, they're a high-risk population anyway. They generally don't take very good care of their health. So when they come in, we do what we can in a jail we'll give them dental care, we'll give them health care, we do whatever we reasonably are able to do. But what about their mental health? Are we doing anything that? Do they go out destined to commit more crimes or destined to come back into our facility? You know, as as the mental health professionals, as the first responders, as the court people, you're the future leaders in this. Some of us will be gone in a few years, and you'll need to take up the torch and carry that from here on out. It was so gratifying to hear the successes this morning, but it's also vital that we look at where we can still go, what we're still able to accomplish. I think as you sit and listen to other people, and I'm a very much an advocate of learning from others. I tell my officers that you can commit one theft, and that is stealing people's ideas. Go after and get your information. Go to conferences, go to other communities, go to other jurisdictions, and learn what they're doing that works, and bring it home and try it. Not everything may work, but most of it probably will. You heard diversity was a main theme this morning. What works in Maricopa may not work in Santa Cruz County. What works in Yavapai may not work in Pima County. It's okay. You know, we're all creative in what we do. We all have limited resources. We all have capabilities. Try things. See what works in your community and see how you can make a difference in your community as well. Take time to learn, I think, from other people, and you'll be so much better off. You know, today we're here to honor those who are creative, to honor those who have come up with these ideas, who've developed solutions, who have taken a tough situation and turned it around and made it positive. Talking about making a difference in your community. And that's so gratifying to be able to see those individuals that worked on the mental health criminal justice, that worked on legislation, that provided education to others. But the last thing I want to mention is to thank Mary Lou and the board of David's Hope, because none of us would be here were it not for her efforts and the efforts of her board. The tremendous difference that they have made in this state is unequaled. And I think it's very, very important to acknowledge that and to thank them for what they do. And again, it's certainly an honor to be here to help doing that award.
Thank you, Sheriff Driscoll. Tremendous insight that you shared with us. Great, great. We're going to begin the awards, and I'm going to ask Ray Hoff and Sherry Phoenix to come up to the stage. And Ray's going to be our presenter this year. Sherry, who you met earlier, is our David's Hope board president, and we'll have to scoot down a little bit. Sheriff Driscoll is right on about our board being tremendous. And I wanted to do this earlier, but no.
Excuse me. Oh, can we just want to move the flags out here?
What? No, just I wanted to earlier talk about two of our board members who none of our work would go on without if they left us tomorrow, and that's Ray Hoff and Steve Harvey. Steve, would you stand? Support them any way you can, folks, because the day that either of those two quit supporting me will be finished. And Ray has a wonderful bio in our program, and she was a registered nurse, worked for 30 years, and did all sorts of work in labor and emergency rooms and hospice. She's been a mental health advocate for 15 years, mainly due to her youngest son suffering from a dual diagnosis of bipolar and substance abuse, and having frequent problems with the criminal justice system. He currently is incarcerated in the Arizona Department of Corrections. And I'm just so proud of being able to work with this woman. and to stand here next to you, Ray, and have you be our presenter this year.
Oh, thank you.
You have, and Mark, her husband, here as well. Thank you, Mark, for the support that you've given over the many years. We sure couldn't do it without that. So I will, just wanted to give Ray and Steve an extra shout out because you deserve it. And I will get out of the way. Do you want to put this?
Yeah, I'll put it in the stand. Okay, I talk pretty loud, so let me know if I blast you out. So, I'm happy to be here today. I was honored when Mary Lou asked me to do this, so I hope I can do a good job. Kate Lawson usually does this job, and Kate usually always has jokes. Well, being a nurse, I only have one clean joke. Okay? So there's a cowboy, a cop, and a construction worker go into a bar, and the bartender says, "The YMCA's down the street." Some of you may not get that. I know. Okay. All right, we'll begin our ceremony with our 2019 Law Enforcement Awards. If I can have Officer Carlin Behrend. Did I say that right?
Behrend.
Oh, okay. Yes, you can.
Just repeat her name.
She's from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. Defendants that are booked into the Maricopa County Jail with mental health needs are greatly benefited by a diligent MCSO detention officer, Carlin Behrend. Did I say that right that time? Okay. Officer Behrend always goes above and beyond to help and communicate with all stakeholders in providing information about defendants who have mental health needs in the jail system. She is readily available to assist all court and community stakeholders and excels in her ability to keep the lines of communication open. She is extremely responsive to requests for third-party releases to behavioral health providers. As a long-term officer in the Sheriff Information Management System, Officer Behrend provides the necessary link to provide a continuity of care to individuals with a serious mental illness. She communicates when there are court-ordered evaluations or court-ordered treatment amendments, which provide the parties with alternatives to continued incarceration. Officer Behrend's nomination was submitted by 8 City of Phoenix Municipal Court officials and staff, including Mental Health Court Judge Michael Hensey, the Assistant City Prosecutor, defense attorneys, a mental health specialist, a bailiff, and other court staff. These mental health court team members all receive outstanding support and assistance from Officer Behrend as she meticulously handles multiple complex challenges related to the jail's inmate population and their treatment needs. As defendants process through what often becomes a very cumbersome system, Officer Behrend's diligent commitment to improving outcomes for individuals with mental health challenges who are incarcerated in the Maricopa County Jail has had a tremendous impact in promoting treatment and recovery for all those under her care. David's Hope is honored to present Officer Carlin Behrend with the 2019 Crisis Response Officer of Distinction Award.
I accept this with great honor. I worked for the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office for 34 years. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And my mentor is Judge Hensey. I first met him as a commissioner for Superior Court. I worked with him when he was at Desert Vista and City of Phoenix, and he's greatly touched my life and all his staff. Thank you guys very much.
Photo op, photo op. Can I have Detective Sean Deegan from the Pima County Sheriff's Department come up? Oh, he wants to go that way. Why don't you have his... Detective Sean Deegan's career in public service spans more than 17 years as a law enforcement officer and 25 plus in the Navy. Currently serving as a Navy senior petty officer. It is a story of a man who has given his entire life to the service of others, most notably providing the compassionate, empathetic care that individuals living with mental illness and/or experiencing a crisis deserve. Detective Deegan has served in a variety of roles, from patrol to search and rescue, border crimes, mental health support team, CIT, and mental health first aid instructor. But when you ask Sean what his best job has been thus far, his response is being Leo, his canine's handler, and playing an integral role in establishing and leading the Pima County Sheriff's Department Crisis Response Canine Program. With Sean's leadership, the Sheriff's Department's Canine Therapy Program has not only been established, but grown from one officer responding to mental health crisis calls to two in the jail setting working to de-escalate inmates. Additionally, 2 officers were added to respond using canine therapy with school resource officers, effectively increasing community stabilization for kids experiencing a crisis. On a recent call, a 70-year-old man was being brought in on a revocation of court order requiring inpatient mental health treatment. The man was irate, claiming the charges were erroneous, and he didn't require inpatient treatment. He continued to escalate until Detective Deegan said to the man, "I have a dog, and he's here to help." He doesn't bite. In fact, he's here to hug and make this process a little easier. "If you want me to bring him, I will, and we'll go with you to the hospital and sort all of this out." Almost immediately, the man de-escalated, packed his belongings, and Sean and Leo took the man to the hospital without incident or escalation, staying with him through the entire process. In the end, the gentleman thanked Sean for his compassion and service and asked when he could see Leo again. Sean's leadership of this program is revolutionizing policing at a cultural level, encouraging collaboration, peer support, and compassion, not only at the Pima County Sheriff's Department, but nationwide. Sean's vision for the future of this program is growth, not for him and his department, but for the culture of mental health response by police as a whole. David's Hope is honored to present Detective Sean Deegan with the 2019 Crisis Response Officer of Distinction Award.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Arizona Complete Health, who have partnered with us for this program, our command staff who supports this 100%, and especially Anthony, who is here with Scottsdale Police Department, who basically I met 3 years ago, and from that moment on, couldn't dream of doing anything else. Nothing against the SAR days, Sheriff, but we had a blast doing that. But this is absolutely the best job I've ever had. Thank you very much.
Make sure you get Leo in the picture. Can I have Detective Stacy Dwyer? I hope I said that right. Scottsdale Police Department, come up. Is it Dyer? Is it Dyer? Detective Stacy Dyer is a 16-year veteran with Scottsdale Police Department. In her career, she has patrolled as a patrol officer, detective, crisis intervention officer, SWAT negotiator, and is currently assigned as a school resource officer. Detective Dyer has positively impacted the lives of many of her students. On one occasion, she responded to a student who had barricaded himself on the roof of his junior high school. By utilizing her training and experience in crisis intervention and crisis negotiation, she was able to use her active listening skills to establish a rapport with the student. She talked him safely down from the roof by listening to his grief about teachers and talking to him about the sports he likes to play. To plan for long-term support, Detective Dyer then utilized the student's parents, school officials, and mental health professionals to engage this child via a multidisciplinary, holistic approach to wellness. As a CIT-trained SWAT negotiator, Detective Dyer negotiated an armed and barricaded person experienced mental delusions out of a motel bathroom and onto the patio via a face-to-face negotiation. Officers were able to take the subject into custody safely with no officers or citizens being hurt. She did the same with a subject barricaded in a stolen car in a city park with a gun. She negotiated for several hours over a loudspeaker, and although the subject did not surrender, Detective Dyer was able to get the subject to throw the gun out of the vehicle, and the subject was later able to be taken into custody without incident. In a third incident, Detective Dyer engaged a subject with multiple warrants who had barricaded himself inside his mother's home. Detective Dyer stayed with the family, waiting for the subject to contact the mother, which he finally did by phone. Detective Dyer was able to negotiate the subject out of the attic and into the living room, where he was safely taken into custody. David's Hope is honored to present Detective Stacy Dyer with the 2019 Crisis Response Officer of Distinction Award.
Thank you very much. The SWOT negotiation is an auxiliary part of my job. We don't get to do it very often. I do thank my team for supporting me and always being with me there. This is not something that I can do on my own. It truly is a team effort. So I do definitely want to recognize my team for that. And I thank my supervisors for having the faith in me to do this job.
Okay, now I know I can't screw this name up. Officer Aaron Good of Scottsdale Police Department. Officer Aaron Good regularly responds to mental health crisis events in the community he serves. Officer Good works diligently and skillfully to produce a good outcome for those involved at the time of the incident, but he also is committed to be sure follow-up is provided by crisis professionals. Responding to crisis calls is routine in law enforcement. In April 2019, Officer Good responded to an attempted suicide on his beat. Upon arrival, he found the subject had already made the attempt. Officer Good was able to make sure the subject could not further harm himself and ordered immediate medical assistance. Upon further investigation, it was discovered the male subject had experienced a severe recent traumatic event. Officer Good utilized the Scottsdale PD's crisis intervention team to respond to and assist the wife of the male subject, while he responded to the hospital to make sure the man received psychiatric treatment. Officer Good continued to follow up with the man and his family after the incident to offer support if requested. On another occasion, Officer Good was able to assist an autistic and nearly nonverbal young man walking along a main road in his beat, who had wandered from his home, becoming disoriented and lost. By reviewing a library card held by the man, Officer Good was able to contact his family and drive him back to his home. The young man's mother, who was his caregiver, was unaware that her son had wandered off until she was contacted by Officer Good. Officer Good is skilled at helping to identify individuals who are experiencing delusions and or exhibiting dangerous behavior due to mental health issues. He willingly assists with and initiates Title 36 petitions when needed and testifies in mental health court to assist individuals in receiving needed treatment. His skill and compassion has created a link to treatment for many who live with mental disorders. David's Hope is honored to present Officer Aaron Good with the 2019 Crisis Response Officer of Distinction Award.
It's funny that you mentioned the easy last name to pronounce, Good. When I was a young boy, my father always said that I was born into a family with the last name of Good, and I had to hold it up. And I've always taken that very seriously and carried it on to the career that I have. But a lot of the work that we do, it's a team effort. It's not just my part, it's everyone in here. It's the detention staff, it's the mental health facilities, it's the caregivers, it's the families, it's the individuals that are struggling with the mental health challenges. And it truly does take us all. So I know that I'm honored with this award and I'm very, very thankful, but I know that everyone in here is loving their neighbor as themselves by trying to help them. So I think if we all keep this up, it'll have a really big impact in the future. Thank you.
Okay, let's see if I can get this name right. Sergeant George Kinsvater? Oh, it's accepted by Mark Lamb. Sheriff Lamb.
You got it right.
So, did I get it right? Great. I forgot to say that Sheriff Lamb was with Pinal County. Of course, we probably all know that. Sergeant George Kinsvater has been with the Pinal County Sheriff's Office for 13 years and has over 13 years of military service in the U.S. Army and Arizona Army National Guard. His accomplishments at PCSO include a Medal of Valor and Life-Saving Medal and an official commendation. Nice. One night before daybreak, Sergeant Kinsvater, along with another deputy, responded to a caller in crisis at a residence in the Santan Valley. A man had called the sheriff's office after reaching crisis point. The distress was fueled by multiple traumatic events, including the loss of both of his parents, followed by the loss of his sister, and most recently, the loss of his wife of 37 years. Sergeant Kinswater patiently spent his time on scene listening as the man expressed his pain and hopelessness, learning he had not been sleeping or taking care of his daily needs. Sergeant Kinswater offered to transport him to a mental health facility, to which he voluntarily agreed. During the transport, Sergeant Kinswater continued to listen compassionately and offer him words of comfort and encouragement. The gentleman contacted the sheriff's office a short while after the incident with the following comments. Officer Kinswater showed compassion and understanding at a truly deep level. He took me from a bubbling fool to smiles. He guided me to the road of dealing with my grief, thus my long-term healing. For that, sir, I am forever grateful. Then a few weeks later, he again wrote in saying, I'm doing much better dealing with grief in a more positive way. Your officers are too often scrutinized by the public's perception that all they are out there to arrest. What's sad is that the good they do at the human level is too often overlooked. You mentioned that PCSO is doing more training in dealing with mental health issues, which today's society struggles with more than ever. That doesn't make us bad people. We're just seeking help and don't know how to ask for it. Sorry if I'm rambling, but this is an important issue that you folks seem to be addressing in a positive way. Thank you. You guys are appreciated. As testified to by those he serves, Sergeant Kinswater's skill and compassion is saving lives and shining the light of hope onto the paths of those in need. David's Hope is honored to present Sergeant George Kinswater with the 2019 Crisis Response Officer of Distinction Award, accepted by Sheriff Lamb.
Thank you. I know that if he was here, sorry, that's loud, he would want to thank his amazing sheriff first and foremost. No, I just want to, George Kinswater, Sergeant Kinswater is an example of the good men and women that go out and do this job every day, and I'm blessed to work with fine men and women like him. And kudos to all of you that are here today. Everybody here cares about what's going on. This is a crisis here in this country, and it warms my heart to see so many people active. And especially I want to say thank you and congratulations to all of those who are receiving awards today for your outstanding work. I know from a leadership standpoint, and I think I speak for Sheriff Driscoll as well, you have no idea how much we appreciate as administrators and as sheriffs the fine work that you do on a daily basis. So God bless everybody. Thank you.
Okay, if I can have Detective Sergeant Jeff Carrion. He's accepting the award for Detective Lisa Scott and Detective Tomoki Scheidemann. Huh? I did. Lisa's not here. Oh, Lisa's here. Sorry about that. Hi, Lisa.
I mean, it's easier to say.
Hey, if I can screw anything up, I can screw this up really bad. This is a team award that we give away. Detective Lisa Scott and Detective Tomoki Scheidemann. Did I say that right?
Yes, Tomoki Scheidemann.
Okay, I got that right. Are tremendous examples of what crisis intervention teams should look like through their efforts to coordinate and collaborate with the behavioral health system in the community. Their team has created great impact for good in the West Valley CIT Coalition, supporting quarterly trainings for officers in that region. Their efforts, coordinated with the leadership of the Peoria Police Department, has also made significant strides in serving the needs of the city's homeless population. Lisa and Tomoki share a passion to locate and serve homeless men, women, and children. Their skill and tenacity has been the lifeline to the resources these homeless or at-risk individuals need. To that end, Detectives Scott and Scheidemann have been the creators of mental health and homeless resource fair events, which open the doors leading toward access to both substance use and mental health treatment services. The resource fairs also strategically provide education and referrals to assist with the recipient's legal needs. These officers both frequently participate in a variety of community events to discuss challenges they experience and strategize opportunities to support people in need, such as engaging with community partners regarding group homes and calls for service. Lisa and Tomoki are true examples of professionalism in law enforcement. Their willingness to become directly involved, to reach out and extend a hand of support to community members most in need, best demonstrates their outstanding service. This was seen in their work with an individual who had ongoing challenges in maintaining housing, staying involved with his clinical team, and staying out of the justice system. Time and time again, it was Lisa and Tomoki who connected with the team, the crisis facility where he goes on occasion, and his probation officer to see how they could best support this recipient to minimize his legal troubles. The intervention they provided for this individual and many others is making a life-changing difference for those in need. David's Hope is honored to present Detective Lisa Scott and Detective Tomoki Scheidemann with the 2019 Crisis Response Officer of Distinction Award.
On behalf of Tomoki, I'd like to thank everyone for their support and recognition of the hard work that he and Lisa do on a daily basis. I was fortunate enough to become their supervisor about 6 months ago, and I've gotten to see firsthand some of the work they do on a daily basis where they truly do change people's lives. I'll let Lisa speak to that a little bit more.
Guess my turn. Well, I want to thank each of you. I mean, it really does take a community to do this. So it takes law enforcement providers and literally the community members to go out there and help us as well. So when the community works together, we're the ones that shine that little light of hope for all those that are out there, especially our homeless. Sometimes they feel forgotten. We're the ones that get to tell them they're not.
If I can have Major Justin Solberg from the Gila County Sheriff's Office come up. Major Solberg is commander over the Gila County jail system. He poses the unique ability to balance compassion and empathy with inmate safety and law enforcement. He is a leader who created a new culture in the jail. His efforts in collaborating with community partners has paved the path to recovery for inmates with mental disorders. His leadership has been an important driving factor in the success of the Gila County Criminal Justice Behavioral Health Coalition. Whew, that was a mouthful. Major Solberg has worked for many years to bring program development within the jail system, which will provide behavioral health services to inmates experiencing acute psychosis that will be both timely and effective. Efforts by Major Solberg included working with providers at the local behavioral health agency with a vision of providing psychiatric practitioner services in the Gila County Jail. His leadership was both compassionate and unrelenting as he continued to stress to all who would listen the need for services in the jail health system to be able to have the ability to diagnose mental illness, provide needed medications, as well as provide a stable environment for those who are incarcerated. Working together with local treatment providers, there were many obstacles the county had to overcome. First of all, a huge funding barrier. Major Solberg, through his vision and leadership, approached the sheriff and the County Board of Supervisors, and all agreed upon and approved a funding model. Community Bridges personnel who have worked with Major Solberg to see the vision become reality was able to build a telemed video cart for his program and provide a staff member to assist with the operation. Community Bridges medical management team provided the psychiatric practitioner, and on March 19th, 2019, Major Solberg's psychiatric telemedicine program went live in the jail. Major Solberg's outstanding leadership has been an important driving factor in the success of the Gila County Criminal Justice Behavioral Health Coalition. David's Hope is honored to present Major Justin Solberg with the 2019 Crisis Response Officer of Distinction Award.
I'll learn from the people that were up here before me. I won't make your ears bleed, or I'll try not to at least. I do not like being in the limelight. I'm usually the one that's submitting people for awards, accolades, recognition. So to be honest, I'm quite embarrassed to be up here in front of you, but I am honored nonetheless. So thank you. Needless to say, you won't see my face on the news telling you what the monsoon storm looked like that shut the power down to the jail. I'd like to thank Sheriff Shepard, who is not here today, as well as the command staff for giving us the latitude and encouraging us to explore programs to start in the jail to work towards this epidemic that we're all facing. The money is out there. You just need to know where to look, and I'd like to see the partnership between mental behavioral health and law enforcement continue to grow. We're all doing a fabulous job. Trust me, I've talked to the East Coast, some of the people on the East Coast, so we're far ahead of them. So keep up the good work. It takes all of us. Thank you.
Okay, this was my challenging name for the day. And hopefully from one Pollock or Czech to another one. Sergeant Darren Sispansky? Was that close? From the Gilbert Police Department. I really thought I was going to get that wrong. Okay. Did I say that right, Darren?
Yes.
Sispansky? Sapansky. Ah.
I've heard worse.
The Z is out of there. Okay. Last April, Sergeant Darren now I'm going to say it the way I said it. Sapansky responded to a call of a subject in a psychotic breakdown. Over a period of a week, Gilbert Police had been interacting with the same subject in half a dozen calls for service. One of these resulted in the subject barricading himself in his residence, armed with a box cutter and taunting police. The day Sergeant Sapansky responded was a game changer. The sergeant located the subject in the backyard of the residence after the subject's mother stated he had left the house. The subject was armed with landscaping shears and threatening himself and others. Sergeant Sapansky located the subject. He immediately engaged him in conversation, never moving towards him, but repeatedly asking if he was okay and showing genuine concern. Through his natural ability to talk to people and his crisis intervention team training skills, he was able to build rapport with the subject. The conversation took well over an hour, yet Sergeant Sapansky never lost focus and continued to talk with and not at the subject as he slowly moved out towards the police. The process was slow to begin, but due to the empathy and concern of this highly skilled sergeant, the subject began to relax and open up more and more as the thoughtful interaction continued. The result was the subject exiting a hidden area of a side yard, then coming out of the gated side yard all together to the front of the house, sitting on a stoop and talking with a crisis response team. After a previous call involving this subject ended in a high-risk barricade situation, the achievement of a peaceful resolution with the subject coming out, talking to a crisis team, and afterwards being admitted to a mental health facility for evaluation was a direct result of the patient and skilled work of Sergeant Sapansky. The mother spoke out that evening, seemingly amazed at what had just transpired, saying, "I don't know police could help like." She stated her son normally just fights with police. Sergeant Sapansky has created a lifeline to recovery for this and numerous other individuals and families. David's Hope is honored to present Sergeant Darren Sapansky with the 2019 Crisis Response Officer of Distinction Award.
Thank you. I'm honored to receive this today, and thank you to command staff for believing in me that night and allowing me to talk to that individual as long as we did. I've been doing law enforcement in 2 states in over 15 years now, and the calls for mental health throughout my career I've just seen steadily go up. So being a new supervisor and taking this type of training and encouraging guys to go through CIT schooling and so forth has been something I've been striving to do. More importantly, just teaching them to go out there and when we get these type of calls to slow down and take your time and learn to talk to people and see what the underlying issues are so we can move forward and find better resolutions to problems. Thank you.
Now we'll move on to our award for our judicial officers. This award is to Judge Michael Hensey of the Phoenix Municipal Court that's being accepted by presiding Judge Don Taylor. Judge Michael Hensey serves as a judge in the City of Phoenix Mental Health Court. His work has included representing the state as a Maricopa County attorney at civil commitment hearings. He later became a commissioner in Maricopa County and aided in creating awareness of the need for expansion of practical court services to serve individuals who have a mental health disorder. Within the Phoenix Mental Health Court, he has developed a dedicated team which has worked to create and implement a misdemeanor diversion court that gives many defendants the opportunity to avoid criminal charges as they link into and engage in a wide variety of behavioral health treatment services and supports. Judge Hensey has immense experience in working with people who have a mental illness and require treatment with supports, which will help them find and remain on a path to recovery. He puts unending hours into finding out what types of treatment services can be offered to the defendants passing through his court. Judge Hensey is also widely known and appreciated for his skill in bringing people together, including prosecutors and defense attorneys who are natural opponents, to get the recipient a plan which will help give them the needed assistance so they can successfully engage in effective, timely treatment and eventually realize a successful outcome. Michael Hensey shows each defendant compassion and respect. His leadership has created a truly exemplary therapeutic treatment court. It is commonplace to hear defendants and others express their gratitude for his patience, as he is careful to be certain each individual understands what needs to be accomplished. When progress is made, the encouragement which Judge Hensey bestows on recipients in his courtroom is also shared with court staff, caseworkers, and the entire behavioral health team. The example he has set has changed the culture into a setting where successful outcomes have become commonplace. David's Hope is honored to present Judge Michael Hensey with the 2019 Judicial Officer Mental Health Criminal Justice Collaboration Award.
Sure. Well, I am going to say something real quick. Sorry I'm not Judge Hensey. I know I'm not nearly as fun. If you know Mike, and everybody does, you're not going to be at all surprised that he can't be here today because he's on a cruise back in the Northeast. But he did just text me. And so I'm going to read you his words because they are typical Mike. He said to me, "Thanks again for being there to accept this great honor. However, it is because of all the devoted people who rise to support each other, thereby allowing understanding, acceptance, and for this community to excel and continue." I think that says it in a nutshell. I could not be prouder as the presiding judge of what Judge Hensey and the court staff have created and continue to develop in the Phoenix Mental Health Court. So on his behalf, thank you.
If I can have Judge Dorothy Little of the Payson Regional Justice Court, Gila County, come up. How's the weather up in Payson?
A lot cooler than here.
Yeah, I bet. Judge Dorothy Little is a driving force and almost larger-than-life judicial presence when it comes to mental health interventions within the northern Gila County court system. Judge Dorothy Little is one of the founding members of the Gila County Criminal Justice Behavioral Health Coalition. In August 2018, Judge Little developed and launched the Town of Payson Magistrate Restorative Court. Judge Little had a vision to provide an effective, compassionate alternative for people living with a mental disorder who became involved in criminal court. Judge Little's efforts have resulted in the creation of a lower jurisdiction restorative court, the mission being the gathering of multidisciplinary team to staff mental health cases. Working collaboratively with the counseling agency, the court team decides on a treatment plan that will provide wraparound services, treatment, and intervention to stabilize, monitor, and engage persons who suffer from serious mental illness or substance abuse issues. Judge Little has intervened in countless cases to see that individuals in need of behavioral health treatment services are intercepted from the court system and guided toward effective treatment services. Whether the need is for inpatient placement, substance use treatment, or any level of mental health services, Judge Little is committed to seeing the root cause of a person's involvement in the criminal justice system addressed. It has been said by members of the Gila County Mental Health Criminal Justice Collaborative, Judge Little inspires the entire team to put their best foot forward every day to help those in need. Untold numbers of people in need have received behavioral health treatment and support because they were fortunate enough to experience intervention by Judge Dorothy Little. David's Hope is honored to present Judge Dorothy Little with the 2019 Judicial Officer Mental Health Criminal Justice Collaboration Award.
Thank you. I have to admit, when Mary Lou got the microphone out for the first officer, I was ready to exit the room. I'm not much at speaking in public, but I'm humbled and honored to have received this nomination. And truly, it is a team effort with CBI, our crisis intervention, and our detention officers. We do work together, and the prosecutor's office in Payson. So it is a team effort, and I appreciate the team helping me look good. Thank you.
If I can have Judge David Huerta and Judge John Taylor of the Kingman-Surbat Justice Court come up. Both Judge David Huerta and Judge John Taylor, working in a combined Justice of the Peace Court, cover a geographical area encompassing close to 1/3 of Mojave County. As they oversee what is often a defendant's first intersect with the justice system, the work they do is impacting many as they make every attempt to identify those with mental health needs and seek alternatives to incarceration. This often creates a defendant's first opportunity to obtain treatment, provide more appropriate assistance, and greatly reduce the chances of these defendants returning through our court system. Because no mental health court existed in the region, both Judge Huerta and Judge Taylor worked tirelessly to create a responsive system which would promote treatment while working within the necessary framework of the court. Their out-of-the-box thinking has been the driving force for improving treatment options for people with mental illness who are involved in the criminal court system. Judge Huerta and Judge Taylor have worked collaboratively with the adult detention facility to divert low-level offenders out of jail and connect them with community mental health providers in a warm handoff approach. Judge Huerta and Judge Taylor are both longtime Kingman area residents and have raised their families in the local area. Caring deeply about the community they serve, they have taken extraordinary steps to identify those in need of a different approach, who are better served outside the jail setting. The Mojave County Sheriff's Office highly values the working relationships their court has fostered with system and community partners. The treatment-oriented process they have created has since been replicated by the Kingman Municipal Court Magistrate, who also now tries to identify those with mental illness and works with the jail to divert them from custody when at all possible. The tireless efforts of Judge Huerta and Judge Taylor represent their desire to refuse to accept the status quo and to look for new and better ways to improve outcomes and the chance of recovery for people living with mental disorders and addictions. Their work in the Kingman-Surbat Court is bringing understanding to many that justice and safety often can be better served when those identified with a mental illness can be removed from the jail to receive health care services in the community. David's Hope is honored to present the 2019 Judicial Officer Mental Health Criminal Justice Collaboration Award to Judge David Huerta and Judge John Taylor.
I'd like to thank David's Hope for presenting this award to our courts. It definitely is a combined effort from the people within the courts. Our effort with the Mojave County Jail and our prisoner release program enables somebody gets released right away and hopefully treatment start within the same day of release. And especially as well as our Mojave County Attorney's Office and public defenders and our private attorneys for we're not allowed to call it a mental health court because we don't have the resources to do all the qualifications, so we call it a mental well-being court. And we have, over the last 4 years, we've had almost approximately 200 participants and an extremely high success rate of potentially over 90%. So that's kind of unheard of. We have a drug court and we don't even come close to that type of success. So we definitely have appreciated the effort of the people within our courts.
Hi, I'm Judge John Taylor, and I thank you for inviting me down here. To be honest with you, I started with the Mojave County Attorney's Office back in 1985, and I think this is my 35th trip to Phoenix. But when I got the email from you inviting us down for the award, I went into Judge Huerta and I said, I've never heard of these people. We need to get on the internet and see if it's a scam. In our drug court program, I can only recount about 4, maybe 5 people who didn't successfully complete the program. And that over a couple hundred people, that's a pretty good number. But I would point out, we have all the community partners in play, including family. It's important to bring them to court.
Wow.
Thank you.
Okay, right now we're going to present the Max Stein Advocacy Award. If I can have Kathy Basher come up, she was our 2018 recipient, and have Mrs. Sharon Dine come up. She will also provide a few words about Max. And Steve, you can come up too.
Do you want us to do you want to talk about the okay. My late husband, Dr. Max Dine, was
I'm sorry. We're supposed to have Martine on the stage.
oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry.
Kathy's going to present the award, but Martine, would you go ahead and come on up?
Thank you, Mary Lou. There's a lot of shuffling going on.
You go first and then let her talk.
Because I hate to share the award this year. Martine, I got it last year, now I have to share it again. Congratulations, Martine. Okay, Martine Felix is a dedicated advocate serving Santa Cruz County. Martine is a leader who cares deeply about the clients he serves. He serves as a support and mentor to clients who are at different stages of recovery and always works to put their needs and interests first. In all he does, Martine gives his clients unconditional support to clients who are unconstitutional too. Support to clients who are engaged in the justice system at many different intersections, from attending court hearings to supporting clients as they work to successfully complete their terms of probation. Members of the Nogales community have become well acquainted with Martine as he becomes a sought-after speaker. The impact for good has had in Santa Cruz continues to grow as he reaches out, making himself available to speak to community groups, to juveniles at detention centers, to faith communities, 12-step groups, and more. He threatened me if I called him Martin. Martine will speak to everyone and anyone who will listen. I'm sorry, Martine. Martine's advocacy is powerful due to the personal experiences as he shares his own life story. He knows how to articulate what living is in the grips of addiction is like, how incarceration impacts a life, and how mental health treatments must be addressed. As a driver of the cycle of incarceration, he has strengthened relationships between people on both sides. Our criminal justice system, both with those in law enforcement and the courts, as well as those whose life have intersected with the justice systems, as they go through the process of arrest, incarceration, and community reentry. Nowhere in his advocacy more evident than his efforts to launch the Santa Cruz Mental Health Criminal Justice Coalition. Martine has been able to bring together mental health criminal justice stakeholders to create ongoing partnerships being built around the common goal of improving outcomes and promoting recovery for individuals living with mental illness and addiction. David's Hope is honored to present Martine Felix with the 2019 Max Stein Advocacy Award. Thank you, Martine.
Sorry, we've got things a little bit mixed up, but we're going to let you share in a second. Martine, thank you so much and congratulations. Sharon Dine is going to talk a little bit about the late Dr. Max Stein before we hand over the mic to you.
My husband, Dr. Max Stein, was a medical oncologist. He graduated from medical school at the top of his class. And while he was in medical school, he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. That made it even more difficult for him to study and get through school, but he did it, and he did it with top honors. He practiced medicine for several years, but the bipolar disorder symptoms were beginning to come back a little more often, to the point where he could no longer practice medicine. So he didn't let that stop him from being a productive citizen. Probably about 2 weeks after he retired, he began volunteering for the Mental Health America, which was the Mental Health Association at that time. And then he also volunteered for NAMI, Arizona. And I forgot to mention that he was also a member of Alpha Omega Alpha, which is a national honor society. So one of his accomplishments was being instrumental in getting Major Sam Cochran from the Memphis Police Department to come to Phoenix and help the Phoenix Police Department and other departments in the state to develop their CIT programs. He volunteered for other mental health organizations too, and he did that until he developed Parkinson's disease, and that slowed him down, but he didn't let it stop him. On the days that he was not feeling well, he would just get on his computer in his room and get on the telephone and do as much over the phone and internet as he possibly could. So I was really very, very, very proud of him and very happy that David's Hope decided to have an award in his name for exemplary people who deal with this awful illness. I always told him that probably his biggest accomplishment was marrying me. And up here on the stage is the first recipient of the Max Stein Award, and that was Stephen Harvey, who is the Vice President of David's Hope, and he's back here. And also Kathy Basher received the award last year, and she was the former Bureau Chief of the Office of Individual Family Affairs. So these are people to be proud of. These are people who contribute so much to our society in spite of the illness that they have to deal with.
I'm very nervous. I am honored to receive this award on behalf of Wellness Connections, our amazing group of people I get to work every day. This is a team effort. I'm just honored to be getting the award, but this award goes for the team effort. I'm just here receiving it for them. You know, it's not a one-person thing. We work as a team, and who better than someone that understands each other, that empathy when we lived it and been through it, and it's just an honor for me to be able to give back what a lot of things I took away into the community. If I could give a little bit back, I'll do it with passion, and so believe in us, believe in peer support. We do recover, we do get better. Thank you for all the amazing work you guys are doing. I'm an example of that this really does work, and there's a lot of people getting better, families are getting better, but there's a lot more work to be done. But peer support, I think it's a special sauce for treatment, you know. We can relate in a different level So believe in us and continue to give us opportunity. I'm grateful that Wellness Connections gave me an opportunity after many years without working. And so if you would have told me 4 years ago I'll be getting this award, I wouldn't believe you. So thank you very much.
Get hot in
Okay, well, we're going to present team awards now. Commander Amy Smith, Mila Marovich of the Phoenix Police Department, and Matthew Moody, Crisis Response Network. If you can come up. Are we missing somebody? Oh, that's right, Amy's not here. So they'll accept the award for her. Commander Amy Smith and Mila Marovich of the Phoenix Police Department. In 2018, Commander Smith was the commander of the Communications Bureau at the Phoenix Police Department. She recognized the need for mental health training of dispatchers, but faced many challenges in carrying this out. In spite of critical staff shortages, no funding, and no roadmap for how to make a training like this possible, she found a way to train all staff in about 1 month period. The training included videos in partnership with Mercy Care and live presentations from staff at the Crisis Response Network, including a tour of the CRN facility. Commander Smith had to create a new staff position of training coordinator to accomplish this feat. Phoenix PD Dispatch Supervisor Mila Marovich was approached to take the leading role in helping to make this training responsive to the needs of dispatchers. Her staff was very unique needs, and she was very careful to make sure the training was tailored to them, useful, and would fall within existing department policy. She worked very hard to create interest among her peers and her staff and created excitement about learning. She also helped to create schedules and worked with the newly appointed training coordinator to be sure all staff achieved their learning objectives within the planned timeline. Matthew Moody with the Crisis Response Network dedicated his time, resources, and skill to help make this training happen. Matthew was the only instructor from CRN, and he worked a grueling schedule, coming in at 5 in the morning and 9 at night, to make sure he reached all dispatchers on all shifts. Only a few dispatchers at a time could leave the phones, so he freely taught class after class for a whole month. Matthew also ensured that each dispatcher would have a chance to tour the Crisis Response Network facility, talk to other employees, and listen in on CRN crisis calls. The Phoenix Police Department was overwhelmed by his dedication and the highly skilled level of support he provided. Since conducting this training, the benefits were seen almost immediately. Mila reported overhearing an operator on a particularly difficult call with a person who had dementia. The call was handled well, and she heard the operator say, "Thank goodness I watched that CIT video today." Matt saw an immediate increase in staff touring CRN. He reported that you could see the relationships and trust growing stronger. Preliminary data show a dramatic increase in the number of times Phoenix police dispatchers are calling Crisis Response Network. Police dispatchers are also reaching out and frequently reporting callers who appear to have a mental illness, making referrals to behavioral health providers who can provide the support they need. David's Hope is honored to present Commander Amy Smith with the 2019 Crisis Response Officer of Distinction Award, and Mila Marovich and Matthew Moody with the 2019 Community Member Mental Health Criminal Justice Collaborative Award.
Thanks, everyone. Crisis Response Network is always looking for ways that we can collaborate with first responders, and it was, a personal honor for me to be able to do all these trainings, meet the dispatchers, and get them to come over and see what crisis specialists do. We already support by taking calls from first responders and sending the mobile teams out, but how many calls go through dispatch? Almost all of them. So it was just great to be part of this innovative process. And if you had told me that I would get free eggs for life from Mila's personal chicken farm, I would have done this years earlier. So thank you guys very much.
So it came down to bribing him to help us do this program, but it worked out very well. And I think the first thing I'd like to say is just I appreciate Police Chief Jerry Williams and our executive staff that recognizes the importance of coming up with innovative mental health programs within the police department to try to help our citizens. And I was really excited about this program because that's exactly what it did. It got the mental health, the person who suffers with mental illness, the appropriate need, and possibly kept the officer out of a situation that they didn't need to be in. So we're continuing to develop the program. I'm excited about it. In developing the program, it was several people that helped us. Tanisha Hildebrand and Frank O'Halloran of Mercy Care. They were awesome. Frank even did one of our videos for us on kind of Psych 101, so that was exciting. Detective Sabrina Taylor, our CIT officer for the Phoenix Police Department, she's been a huge help and advocate for us. And then the many hours that I worked with Matthew and the success of the program, and I'm just excited about where it's going to go. Thank you.
The next award is the Reach Out Collaborative Team, which is from Yavapai County Sheriff's Office, or YCSO. So I'll say that. So if I can have YCSO's Inmate Services Bureau Project Manager, Christy Hambrick. Spectrum Healthcare Group's Justice Liaison, Amy Sheldon. And Lieutenant Brian Silvernail of the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office. Is Brian not going to be here? No? Oh, Brian's not going to be here, sorry. In March 2018, the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office launched the Reach Out Initiative with the goal to improve cross-system collaboration in the justice system for people with mental and substance use disorders. One of Yavapai Jail's best efforts to reach this goal is the partnership between the jail's Inmate Services Bureau's Release Coordination and Spectrum Healthcare Group's TIP Jail Triage Program. Release coordination of people who have been incarcerated in Yavapai's jail can include people experiencing an acute crisis, people who are actively engaged in recovery and treatment, people who are just beginning the treatment path, any combination of these characteristics, or people right in between. It takes a team of astute release and inmates, service coordinators, focused detention officers, as well as behavioral health crisis and peer support to provide supports to begin the process of behavioral health engagement for such a vulnerable population. Lieutenant Silvernail's leadership within the community has paved the way for the court system and justice stakeholders to understand the benefits of identification of individuals with mental health and/or substance use concerns who have been incarcerated, diversion at the earliest moments possible from the jail setting when appropriate, and assurance of direct access to care. On top of the community leadership role, Lieutenant Silvernail has had to navigate a myriad of technical aspects involved within a secure jail setting to create the infrastructure for this project to be successful. Project Manager Christy Hambrick leads the Inmates Services Bureau's Release Coordination Team. Her robust and diverse staff work around the clock to meet with almost every inmate and offer them the ability to participate in a reach-out screening. Ms. Hambrick assures that the multiple courts, probation department, behavioral health providers, access health plans, emergency housing agencies, and other service providers are able to understand the participants' needs and that they continue to work in collaboration with the release coordinators. These coordinated efforts would not be successful without the energy, dedication, passion, and determination of Justice Liaison Amy Sheldon from Spectrum Healthcare. Ms. Sheldon's leadership of the jail triage program has given the jail the ability to successfully bridge a participant's release from the jail's back door to a treatment provider's front door. Her experience working in the behavioral health field and with persons living with serious mental illness and persons experiencing crisis episodes has allowed her to understand the needs, concerns, fears, and behaviors of this population. Ms. Sheldon and her team have the ability to adapt at a moment's notice dependent on the situation. Amy Sheldon's advocacy for this population has not only provided participants the ability to engage in treatment, but to create a safety plan during exceptional, anxious transitions. David's Hope is honored to present the 2019 Community Member Mental Health Criminal Justice Collaboration Award to Christy Hambrick and Amy Sheldon, along with the 2019 Crisis Response Officer of Distinction Award to Lieutenant Brian Silvernail.
I'll go first. First off, thank you, David's Hope, for selecting me for this award. I'm really honored to receive it. March 18th of 2018, we launched the Reach Out program in the jail, and what we've done in a short amount of time has been pretty amazing. We couldn't have done it without the vision of Sheriff Masher, Chief Rhodes, and our amazing release coordinator, inmate services team. It's been truly a huge effort by everybody within the jail. I'm proud to partner with the TIP program, Amy. She's always there for us. And so I'm just excited of what's to come and where the program will go.
I just want to thank David's Hope, first of all, and David, if he's in the room. Mary Lou, you've done amazing. This award is not really, it feels almost disingenuous for me to receive this award. It is a team effort. It's between Yavapai County Jail, it's my supervisor, and it's April Rhodes, Sean Hatch, Carrie Cray, Gina Vega Mendez, Jody Marion. And I work, my team includes BHW, Bob Francisco, and peer support specialist, forensically trained, James Hayden. Without them, none of this would be possible. I want to thank my son, Timothy, for getting some time off from the Navy to be here. It was an effort. My kids grew up as single social workers' children, so, right. So, thank you. So, thank you very much.
Let me give you this.
We will now begin our community member awards. Jim Dunn of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, Arizona. Jim, will you come up?
Into the other.
Since December 2011, Jim Dunn has served as the Executive Director, CEO of the Arizona State Office of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, or NAMI of Arizona, the nation's largest grassroots advocacy organization serving individuals and families with mental illness. A 20-year pioneer in the Arizona behavioral health community, Jim is a staunch supporter of individuals and families with mental illness, community collaboration, and integrated care. In addition to working as a State of Arizona vocational rehabilitation counselor, recovery services administrator, and site administrator of one of the larger adult SMI direct care clinics, Jim helped launch the first Latino family peer-run organization. Remains active with the Arizona Mental Health and Criminal Justice Coalition, the Phoenix VA Mental Health Advocacy Council, the board of the Arizona Peer and Family Coalition, steering committee of the Arizona Justice Alliance, member of the Maricopa County Independent Oversight Committee, and Arizona Supreme Court Committee on Mental Health and Criminal Justice. He is currently working with all three branches of Arizona state government and law enforcement agencies across the state to address the all too frequent intersection of mental illness, homelessness, and criminal justice. When do you find time to sleep? An 8-year Air Force veteran, Jim earned his bachelor's in human resources, master's in educational counseling, and completed coursework toward a doctorate in behavioral health. Those who know and work with Jim have experienced the impact he has had in bringing people together to improve outcomes for people living with mental illness. His support of individuals living with mental illness and their loved ones has had a life-changing impact on hundreds, if not thousands of people within our state and across our nation. David's Hope is honored to present Jim Dunn with the 2019 Community Member Mental Health Criminal Justice Collaboration Award.
Thank you. I didn't want to insult anybody when they proposed this award. I said, I neither need, want, or deserve this award. I'm just privileged to be able to work with a bunch of incredible people and be a cheerleader. But after I thought about it, and we've been insisting all along, it's about relationships, and I've been privileged to know you, Mary Lou, since you started this organization, and I'm very proud and thankful to walk amongst you, and Kathy, and some of you people I've known for a long, long time, and it's a privilege, and I thank you. And so I will accept this award on behalf of NAMI Arizona, and our incredibly kind, patient, tolerant, loving, and understanding board that has given me far too much opportunity to stretch the boundaries of our relationships, but I sure do appreciate it. Thank you.
Darren Fry, Supervisor of Community Bridges Northern District. Darren Fry has distinguished himself as a pivotal leader in Gila County. He has served the region to see that mental health and addiction treatment is accessible to all who are in need of these services. Darren has made linking individuals who are involved with criminal justice with these behavioral health services an important priority. His work has made the creation of service linkages a reality to jail inmates as well as to those being released from incarceration. Darren's commitment to improving collaboration between mental health and criminal justice stakeholders has helped to build great momentum in his region. His efforts have included building partnerships between judicial leadership, county officials, law enforcement, mental health treatment providers, along with community and faith leaders. Darren has traveled the state along with county law enforcement leadership to learn varied techniques and share ideas on how to continue to improve early identification, assessment, and treatment processes in the jail and continuing upon an inmate's release. Darren has gained the respect of community partners throughout his region, and it has been said by some that you can best summarize the impact he has on his community by simply saying, when Darren speaks, everyone listens. Darren has obtained and is coordinating a grant which will serve to further empower the jail health staff to improve with greater efficiency their early identification and treatment protocols, creating greater treatment accessibility as a priority for individuals who are justice involved. Darren, working with county leaders and community partners, is making plans to see the numbers of those who are returning to recycle through the Gila County Jail continuing to decline. Currently, Darren serves as chair of the Gila County Mental Health Coalition. His leadership is bringing the community together as a growing group of stakeholders, commits their efforts to the work of decriminalizing mental illness and addiction. David's Hope is honored to present Darren Fry with the 2019 Community Member Mental Health Criminal Justice Collaboration Award.
Thank you, Mary, and I want to thank you, David Soap, for this. This is truly an honor. It's very humbling. I'm really excited to accept this on behalf of Community Bridges and the work that we're doing with our community stakeholder partners. Major Justice Holberg, he had to take off. It's been truly an honor to kind of hitch our wagon to his vision and be able to assist Gila County in providing services. I want to thank Sheriff Shepard for his opportunity and his vision. Somebody who couldn't be here today has been kind of my partner in this is Lieutenant Sweet Carlson. He's unfortunately was not able to come today. There are some people in the room that really helped us. Lieutenant Carlson and I set out on a mission about a year ago to go around and visit some of the counties and who have operating programs. And I would like to thank Yavapai County, Christy Hambrick, Bea Thayer, who isn't here, and they graciously let us spend the day up there with them and going through their program. Steve Jolien with Navajo County, we went up there spending a day with him. I'm really excited that on June 1st, we kicked off the Reach Out Jail Coordination Program in the Gila County Jail System. That's been pretty exciting. Really, I wanted to, if you get an opportunity to do this for a living, it's been pretty exciting to me for the last 7 years, considering where I started with Community Bridges 7 years ago. If you have, with a little bit of hard work and some luck, then there maybe somebody will notice that and give you some new opportunities. I've been that fortunate. About 3 years ago, there was a person that did that, gave me a new platform with Community Bridges to go out and do some stuff on more of a regional level. And this person not only gave me this opportunity, but this person also took me under their wing, mentored me, and helped me understand how this works. I would like to recognize that person as well. He's here, probably won't like that I'm going to recognize him, but Community Bridges Chief Operating Officer Scott Hallen. Thank you, Scott, for the opportunities. And real quick to the law enforcement and judicial officers out there, thank you for the hard work and the dangerous work you do every day to keep us safe. Thank you, Martine, for talking about peer support work. 7 years ago, that's where I started out. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I know the job that law enforcement does every day, and I know that it can be tiresome working with people like us over and over and over again as you think, man, that person is just never going to get it. Well, don't give up on us, please, because that person you may think will never get it may just get an opportunity to get a award like this. Thank you very much.
Blas Miner, Battalion Chief, Chandler Fire Department. I've lived in Chandler for 30-some years, and I didn't even know that this very famous person was there. Blas Miner Jr. is a former Major League Baseball pitcher who spent 13 years in professional baseball. Chief Miner is an emergency paramedic and has been with the Chandler Fire Department for 18 years, learning the positions of firefighter, engineer, captain, and now battalion chief. For 2 years, he served as Battalion Chief of Health Services and Public Relations, where he directly supervised the community medicine and crisis response programs. Chief Miner was named Firefighter of the Year in 2015. He is a board member of the Chandler IM Project for opiate addiction and has represented his department as the Public Information Officer. He readily volunteers his off time mentoring youth and being a servant leader. As the Crisis Response Program Director, Chief Miner had the opportunity to become a student once again and learn about the behavioral health system in Maricopa County. Making an active effort to engage with those seeking and providing services in the Chandler area, he initiated open and honest dialogue. Participating in Regional Crisis Collaborative, he learned about programs for individuals with serious mental illness, general mental health, or substance use needs, as well as supportive services for caregivers and loved ones. Through his involvement, he was able to identify a service delivery training gap. Chief Minor was the driving force in the Chandler Fire Department's 2015 Innovation Grant. The goal of the grant was to provide firefighters with the appropriate level of training given their scope of practice for responding to individuals in an emergent behavioral health crisis. This training is titled Crisis Support Training, or CST. Excuse me. Some of the many skills taught included street triage, verbal de-escalation, effective engagement, understanding and building rapport, extending empathy, self-care, and recognizing compassion fatigue. Chief Blasminer is a champion for the vulnerable. He is keenly aware that emergency rooms or jail cells are not the most appropriate place for individuals with mental health or addiction disorders. He believes in the mission of the crisis support training curriculum. He has been a tireless advocate, routinely working with multiple community partners to ensure their voices are being heard. He has co-facilitated workshops and conferences across the nation, including at CIT International, representing the fire perspective. At this time, over 5,000 firefighters and police have been trained in the collaborative crisis support training model in which fire and law enforcement partner, and the numbers continue to grow. David's Hope is honored to present Chandler Fire Battalion Chief Jos Blasminer with the 2019 Community Member Mental Health Criminal Justice Collaboration Award.
First of all, thank you, David's Hope, for the recognition. I appreciate that. But as a pretty much majority of my lifetime being in youth or sports in general, I know that you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. So I want to introduce my team here. My team consisted of Mercy Maricopa, Community Bridges, Crisis Response Network, NAMI, Centerpoint, ASU Center for Applied Behavioral Health Policy, Mesa Fire and Medical, Chandler Fire Department, Blue Paws, CPR, La Frontera, Magellan, Mercy Care, Cornerstone, Firestrong, Bulletproof. Quite a team to be built. We came up with a question, and that the police officers had CIT trained officers, and we were recognizing that out in the city on the streets. My firefighters were saying there's a difference. There's a different type of officer in the street treating behavioral health patients, and they recognized that. And we were getting on our fire trucks saying the same things. Are we doing the right thing for our patient? And the answer was no. So we came up with this CST training for firefighters so that we can better communicate with our police officers out in the street and the behavioral health community when we encountered them on a day-to-day basis. Back in the 70s, it was EMS that crept into the fire service. Most of us got in the fire service to fight fires. We wanted to run into the buildings, and we wanted to put out the fires. In today's day and age, firefighters are probably about 80% of the time are doing emergency medical calls. And of those 80% of those calls, we were considering probably about 50 to 60% of those calls had a behavioral health component to it. So we were basically asking our firefighters to go out in the streets and do things that they weren't comfortable doing. So there was 3 quotes that I kind of came up with during the training, and it was, get comfortable being uncomfortable. It was something that I kind of related in the baseball world that I grew up in, but they needed to get comfortable in dealing with patients that were having these crises out in the field. The other one was, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So I don't care how good of a firefighter, police officer, EMT, paramedic that you are, if you don't show them that you care, they don't have a lot of time for you. So they all had a story to tell. We weren't giving them the time to tell that story. The last thing was, even if you're on the right track, if you just stand there, you're going to get run over. So even if you're on the right track, if you just stand there, you're going to get run over. So we felt that, we thought we were doing a really good job with behavioral health patients, but we realized through the behavioral health community that we weren't really doing a very good job at it. So we had to change some things that we did. As paramedics, when we encountered a a young child, so a pediatric patient, we could not treat them the same way we treated an adult. So we made those adjustments on the fly going through the EMS world. So for us to come in as CST and try to train them, and how do we better train our firefighters to deal with these behavioral health patients, it was a simple fix. It was just speaking their language. And we appreciate the team that we compiled, the input that they gave us, and the direction that we could now go forward. You know, like I told the kids in grade school when I used to teach there, every big fire that you probably see started with a little bitty spark. Okay, so we just started this. It's going to continue to grow. We talked about 5,000 strong now going, and we're going to be teaching this CST training to the state fire school in about 2 weeks. So all the smaller municipalities across the state are going to have this information available to them. So thank you for the award. Thank you for letting me to talk. Thank you for the team members that are out here in the audience. I appreciate it.
And Chief Minor, before you leave the stage, don't leave the stage, can you sign your baseball card for me? Do I have to pay you for it? I mean, is there still royalties on it and stuff? Thank you so much. Oh, okay. Bea Thayer of Yavapai County Sheriff's Office Award. It's being accepted by Deputy Chief David Rhodes. One year ago, Sheriff Scott Masher announced the appointment of Bea Thayer as Executive Director for the Yavapai County Justice and Mental Health Coalition. Bea's duties include oversight of the Mental Health Coalition Task Force, including the Reach Out program. The task force work includes pre- and post-arrest diversion services, as well as various aspects of mental health training, guidance, and resource coordination for first responders and other partners in the criminal justice system. One of Bea's primary roles has been to oversee YCSO's Reach Out program. Reach Out offers a service linkage to county jail inmates with appropriate behavioral health and addiction treatment at the earliest possible time after a person becomes justice involved. The goal of Reach Out is to reduce jail recidivism and reduce the jail population overall. In her own words, Bea explains, where we have been successful is in learning to have conversations with someone in one of the worst moments of their life, identifying what risks they have. We also are becoming more successful in how we translate that information to the court. We now have something that we can offer the justice system, which puts everyone at the table. We're able to say, we now have this tool. What's the best way for you to use it? Success comes when partners look for the new ways to address old problems. Our hypothesis is, if they stay engaged, they'll stay out of jail and get back on their feet. Bea's extensive 20-plus years of experience in the social service arena allows her to bring a network of resources and expertise to Yavapai County. She is actively engaged with the courts, multiple law enforcement agencies, probation, the county attorney, school administrators, victim and family advocacy groups, behavioral health organizations, and more. The Yavapai County Sheriff's Office is extremely grateful to have Bea and her wealth of knowledge working for the benefit of the Yavapai County community and providing leadership statewide. David's Hope is honored to present Bea Thayer with the 2019 Community Member Mental Health Criminal Justice Collaboration Award.
I see how many people stayed to see Bea get this award, and I am sorry to disappoint you. So I will do my best to fill in with her. As I look across the room, I know so many of you. Bea knows you too. And it's very fitting, you know, this is a crowd of true believers up here, and that's what Bea is. We're very grateful to have her, and I'll just tell you a little bit about her. Number one, she would be very embarrassed to be up here receiving this award. She has been in Ray's shoes a number of times. She's participated in David's Hope. She's nominated. She's helped award people. She's done all of these things, but it's very fitting for her to get this award. She had an unexpected family emergency, and she couldn't be here. Bea came to us, actually, she became involved in our project in 2015 when I met her, and she came down to the jail to tour and learn some of the things that we were doing, and from that moment on, she just took an interest in Yavapai County, and thankfully she did, because she really has guided us to kind of where we're at today. She's been a wonderful resource, and more than a resource. She's got this, for those of you that know her, she has this unique skill to just kind of make everybody understand each other. I don't know how she does it, but it very much brings all of the players together, and it makes her the perfect fit as the executive director of our mental health coalition, because she has the entire community listening to her and making moves based on information and things and ideas and thoughts that she's able to share. So, it's the end of the day. I won't say a whole lot more, but thank you very much to David's Hope. Thank you very much to Mary Lou. Thank you very much for the support for the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office, for decriminalizing and destigmatizing mental illness. This is a fantastic, but this is not just, we're not just talking about some small victories and whatnot. We are in the middle of system redesign. Things will forever, never be the same when we're done with this. And there's a core group of people that are involved in that. Bea Thayer's in the middle of that, so thank you very much.
And last but not least, Summer Wolf, Mental Health Clinician, Coconino County Sheriff's Office. Summer Wolf is the mental health clinician for Coconino County Sheriff's Office Detention Services, serving nearly 20 years, including working as a detention officer. She has served the last 10 years as the jail's mental health clinician. Summer's work has included evaluating results of a jail review showing extremely high numbers of inmates presenting with co-occurring disorders of mental illness and substance use, including a large percentage who were receiving medication for mental health disorders. She also noted a significant rise in the number of competency and restoration proceedings, resulting in inmates being held in custody for long periods of time. In response to these trends and with the support of the Sheriff's Office, Summer developed and implemented the Rule 11 Diversion Committee to identify inmates with a mental health diagnosis being held in custody who would benefit from diversion or reconnection to services. The committee is a multidisciplinary team that consists of the jail mental health clinician, jail commander, support operations lieutenant, as well as outside stakeholders consisting of the City of Flagstaff's prosecutor and public defenders, representatives from the local regional behavioral health agency, and other community partners. Summer works with the committee to identify and explore alternatives to incarceration through their collaboration with the Flagstaff Municipal Court. By offering coordination between the detention facility, the courts, and treatment providers, the team has had a huge impact on the lives of recipients by reducing the length of incarceration, coordinating releases, reconnecting them with treatment providers, and reducing the cycle of rearrest through improved access to care. In 2018, the committee identified 85 inmates who were reviewed for options other than incarceration. This cooperative was able to divert 52 inmates out of the custody of the sheriff's office while connecting them with mental health services. Due to the success that the Rule 11 Diversion Committee has had under Summers' expert hand, future expansion is planned to include the Coconino County Justice and Superior Courts. David's Hope is honored to present Summer Wolf with the 2019 Community Member Mental Health Criminal Justice Collaboration Award.
Thank you. It's an honor to receive this award. I too wanted to run out the back door when I saw the microphone, so I'm not much of a public speaker, but it definitely is a coordinated effort. I appreciate everything that David Hope's doing, and I know, with us all working together that we can make a difference. Again, this is a great award to receive, and if it weren't for our city prosecutor, Brent Harris, working alongside the defense attorneys, and Amy Bacon and Sherry Brock, who work with Stewart Health and Southwest Behavioral Health and the Guidance Center, the support of our administrative staff, the sheriff, Matt Figueroa, again, it wouldn't be possible. And one person I'd like to thank in this room is my mom for her support and also having a stellar work ethic and leading by example. So thank you, Mom. I wouldn't be here without you.
Hey, Mom, will you come up here and take a picture with your daughter?
While they're taking pictures, I just wanted to let everybody know that's an award winner, that there are boxes out on the table if you want to put your award in a box. If you don't, that's fine, just leave them. Thank you, everyone. Mary Lou's just going to say one little closing remark.
I just want to thank Sheriff Driscoll. Fabulous. Thank you, Sheriff, for your remarks earlier, which were greatly appreciated and very inspiring as we're being able to present all these amazing awards. We thank you. This is the conclusion. I do apologize. We kept you longer than we thought we would, but I know you invested your time wisely, so I thank you greatly for being here. We hope you will continue to stay connected with us through being on our email list and continue in our public dialogue ongoing. Thank you for your work, for our judges and folks that came from far out of town. We appreciate it. We want to stay connected with you, and we are inspired by your service. So you're the reason that we're able to make headway. The work you do every day. So thank you and have a safe drive home.